welcome back to another volume of the Cinema Chronicles right here on Nashville Movie Dispatch. I'm your host, Brandon Vick, member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association and a board member of the Music City Film Critics Association. We went on a little break, but we're back. It's 2026. Hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful New Year's. Right now, we are in the thick of trying to survive a winter storm. It reminds me just of that movie of 2012. And I don't know if you know this, but John Cusack is living with me right now, giving me a lot of helpful advice. So we're doing good. We haven't lost power, but we've actually done it in a way as if we didn't have power. So we've been eating granola and slugs, and I think we're almost through it. So happy New Year, 2026. Let's see. Last Thursday, I can't not talk about the Oscar nominations, right? We're right smack in the middle. Let's not forget Nashville Movie Dispatch. We're going to do another show for the Oscars. It is March 15th. And so we're pretty pumped about that. But the nominations came out on Thursday morning, and I don't think there was any huge surprises. If I wanted to fight the Academy, I was disappointed to see that Joel Edgerton didn't make it in Best Actor for Train Dreams. I feel like that was well deserved. I know a lot of people like Wagner Moura for a Secret Agent. I would have replaced him. I think everybody else, Ethan Hawke, DiCaprio, Chalamet, Michael B. Jordan, good for them. I do feel like that fifth spot could have gone to him. I think that would have been nice. A little surprised Chase Infinity didn't get in Best Actress for One Battle After Another, but I also saw a thing on social media about how maybe this could have been a supporting actress thing, and I think I tend to agree with that. I was happy to see Rose Byrne and Jessie Buckley and Emma Stone. I feel like Jennifer Lawrence deserved a spot for Die My Love. That's just me. Some other stuff. Let me think. I was happy, first of all, Delroy Lindo for Sinners. Good for him. He's been in the game for decades. That was pretty cool to see. Elle Fanning getting a nomination for supporting actress. It could have been for Predator's Badland, for all I'm concerned, but it was for sentimental value. She deserved it. I was happy for her. I like the Best Picture stuff. I think that was pretty good. I know a lot of people are up in arms about F1 getting in it. It's a fun movie, cool movie. I wasn't totally surprised, so I think that's a good one. Frankenstein loaded up. Jacob Elordi getting that supporting actor nom. Amy Madigan, who in Weapons, getting that Best Supporting Actress nomination, which I just found out she's been married to Ed Harris for like 100 years. I had no idea, so I'm jealous. I'd love to see that man nude in a bath. A couple other things. First of all, I've been reading and listening. I know Ryan Coogler was just recently on Amy Poehler's Golden Globe winning podcast, Good Hang, and I really like him. I really respect him. And the fact that Sinners has broken the Academy Awards nominations in getting 16 Academy Award nominations. That's 2 more than the 14 that had originally set the record, which I believe was All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land. And Sinners got 16. So there's a lot of love for Sinners, which makes me wonder exactly who's going to win what come Oscar night. And I got to say, there was a thing where Timothée Chalamet kind of got some shit about last year when he won for A Complete Unknown, talking about how he wanted to be one of the greats. Well, now he's in it with Marty Supreme, which I think had 9 nominations, I think. And he is the youngest actor to get 3 Oscar noms in Best Actor. Before that, I believe, was Marlon Brando. So Chalamet's doing some I think the kids call it big dick energy. And I don't know, he could win. He could really, really win. And if he did, I wouldn't mind it. I don't think it would be a mistake by any means if he wins for Marty Supreme. I love that movie, and with all of its nominations, it's well deserved. One after another, obviously, getting some good ones in there with Benicio del Toro. I'm curious if he'll win or not. So I don't know. I wasn't really disappointed. I don't think there was any big surprises. I do think I've been reading some stuff about how Kate Hudson might kind of ride this wave of Song Sung Blue, the Neil Diamond tribute band movie, and she did it. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress in Almost Famous, which I think has been like 25 years ago. I mean, I think we could have switched her out for Chase Infinity, but good for her. And the fact that I read a story of how, obviously, with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn and how they celebrated, and it's kind of like, it's pretty sweet. And I saw a thing where someone said like it's almost like a career achievement Oscar nomination on the other stuff she's done since then. And so, and maybe, I don't know. But I was really happy, and I'm going to share this on social media because I think it really is a fine example of the great taste that I have. But I will let you know now, for Best Documentary, 3 out of the 5 are in my top 5 of best documentaries. So take that, documentaries. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really, it was nothing too crazy. I think some of it was surprising is that there was kind of nothing for movies like No Other Choice, which I think a lot of people saw could get some. I did have a sadness about Eva Victor for Sorry Baby. She didn't get in with original screenplay. I feel like that she absolutely deserved it, and people thought with Julia Roberts' shout out at the Golden Globes that would have pushed it over the edge. It didn't, which makes me think, does Hollywood hate Julia Roberts? I'm not sure. I don't want to start any beef, but I was sad to see that. So yeah, I kind of like the odds here, but it's put up a pretty interesting scenario for what's gonna win what when it comes time for Oscar night. But I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, let me end this section by telling you some of the fun stuff, some of the fun movies I was able to get since we last spoke. I was able to get the 4K of, I think, is it the 40th? No. Yeah, 40th anniversary of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I got the 4K of Love Lies Bleeding, which I was talking about Ed Harris, who's fantastic in that, along with Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. That one's awesome. I was able to get Eddington Blu-ray from our friends at Danger Zone Video. And most recently, I was able to get the 4K of One Battle After Another. I actually went to a store and saw it and held it in my hand and purchased it. And oh, what a feeling. Oh, what a feeling. So let's get into it. Let's get this first volume of 2026 underway, and let's start with a little bit of monkey madness coming up next. Primate is the name of the movie, and look, it's been almost a month since this thing has come out, and I'm still quite shocked by its Rotten Tomatoes score. Right now, as I read this to you, over almost 150 reviews, it is 79% certified fresh. And in case you can't tell, I think that's too high. Per IMDb, after returning home to Hawaii for summer break, Lucy is reunited with her father, Adam, Academy Award winner Troy Kotzer from Coda, sister Erin, and their pet chimpanzee, Ben. Lucy and her friends, Kate and Hannah, and Kate's oldest brother, Nick, decide to throw a pool party to take advantage of an empty house after Lucy's father's called away for work. Unbeknownst to them, Ben is bitten by a rabid animal, and the gentle chimpanzee they once knew is no more. The group is forced to barricade themselves in the pool, but with no means of calling for help, they must work together to figure out how to outsmart the now ferocious Ben and survive their ordeal. So, the poster says, and I don't know if anybody's even paid attention to this, it says there's something wrong with Ben. But let me tell you, there's a lot wrong with Primate. Now, I know what you're thinking. Brandon, it's called Primate. It's about a crazed monkey. What the hell do you expect? It's like getting mad about the bear being on cocaine and Cocaine Bear. And look, I get it. What you see is what you get. But the entire execution by director Johannes Roberts, who did the 47 Meters Down movies, the shark movies, it's messy, it's confusing, and it's straight up disappointing. The human story of it is practically non-existent. They kind of play with these elements of, there's the absent father who's kind of an author, and he needs this to work, and he needs this book to sell, so he's got to go away. The daughters, especially the oldest one, makes reference of like, oh, that's, we're used to that. Their mom, she died of cancer, and that's supposed to be some underlying thing, and nothing ever comes from that. Also, the oldest daughter, Lucy, has a crush on the brother Nick, and her youngest sister is also mad because Lucy's been gone for too long and has kind of left her there. Here's the thing. They spend a solid 20 minutes or so trying to establish these things, and they mean nothing. Without spoiling it, all of this, and I mean truly almost every single part of this human story, trying to introduce these characters, trying to provide some kind of substance, it does not mean anything. As far as the writing for Primate, I think Amy Nicholson from her LA Times review wrote it best. One chimpanzee with a typewriter could pound out the script for Primate in an hour. Basically sums that up. I mean, honestly, it's very apparent that Roberts wants to get to kind of the mad monkey madness. So he has his victims in a pool for, at least for half the movie. And that's boring. But, thank God, there is this one scene where Ben grabs a head full of hair, and it's sick. But besides that, I'm like, I literally, while I was watching it, thought, do they really just stay in this pool while Ben just jumps around like a monkey screaming at them, and until what happens? But the gore is pretty gnarly. I think it's what Primate really prides itself on. Its practical gore effects are terrific. It's pretty much on kind of full display right from the get-go. And anytime it does get bloody, it is brutal. But I do think there is a real sense that Primate sort of wants to coast on that. And the thing is, it's not that good to get away with it. I think Primate, in a way, it's an old school throwback to kind of the animal attacking genre, but it wants to update it in a way that I think is a mistake, and that it wants to take itself too seriously. I really just prefer it to just go totally insane and have complete fun with it. It does have moments of being self-aware, but not nearly enough. And of course, there are scenes that every horror movie has that makes no sense. I think for me, the best one might be Ben being able to not get one of the characters out from under a couch. She's hidden under some couch, and for some reason, he can't get to her. He can't throw that couch. But let me tell you, you know what he can do? He can rip faces off of a human being, but for some reason, cannot lift this damn couch. And I don't understand it. I really don't. As far as Ben, our leading chimp, he's not as menacing or as terrifying to completely sell the movie. There are a couple of good scares with him, but in the end, I really think you kind of have to keep in mind he's kind of just an infected family pet. However, I do appreciate how Primate kind of brought him to life, and they did not use CGI. And let me find this because I was really impressed with this. Miguel Torres Umba is actually the actor who is Ben. And the costume was a practical animatronic chimp suit that had mask and gloves. And it says that using a performer in a suit instead of CGI was a deliberate choice to enhance the horror and realism. I respect that. I think it would have been easy to do the CGI visual effects thing. I think it would have been way worse than what the movie is. So I like those practical effects. I do think it does add something to Primate. And Primate really is, it's unapologetic in what it gives the audience. And in a way, it does deliver what it promises. It's just that there's so much in such a short movie that feels so unnecessary or just a total waste of time. I think the horror is average with a monkey that needed to go more bananas. I think it just needed to go apeshit. So Primate's getting a VixFlix rating of 2 out of 5. And coming up next, Ray Fiennes lets it all hang out in 28 years later, The Bone Temple. All right, per Rotten Tomatoes, 28 years later, The Bone Temple expands upon the world created by Danny Boyle and Alex Garland in 28 years later, but turning the world on its head. Nia DaCosta directs 28 years later in a continuation of the epic story of Dr. Kelson, played by Ray Fiennes, makes a discovery that could change the world as they know it, and Spikes, played by Alfie Williams, encounters Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell, who becomes a nightmare he can't escape. In the world of the Bone Temple, the infected are no longer the only threat to survival. The inhumanity of the survivors can be stranger and more terrifying. I was a fan of 28 years later, but admittedly, I was thrown off by the ending, which involved the Jimmies, including Jack O'Connell. It just was a little off-putting. I had read something where maybe if it was one of those kind of mid-credit scenes, it would have played better. But now that it's all come into focus with the Bone Temple, which is easily one of the best horror sequels in I don't even know how long, what director Nia DaCosta has done with this story is really unbelievable. I had my doubts, like I'm sure maybe a lot of you did, when I found out that Danny Boyle was not helming this one. It was all done almost right, like back to back, and 20 years later, it comes out in August, and then this one, boom, comes out in January. And I wasn't the biggest fan of DaCosta's remake of The Candyman, but my faith in her has instantly been restored because she directed a fantastic film called Hedda that had Tessa Thompson, who I also think should have been a big Oscar contender. And she slays here by confidently presenting a totally different film than what we're used to with these 28 years, 28 days, weeks, whatever series. It is less flashy, but it's more grounded and surprisingly tranquil and funny, but still unreservedly dark and brutal. I think one of the things instantly that kind of came into my mind was there's this evolving of the virus, but there's also this kind of evolution of the story itself and the characters that are telling it, especially with the ones that are portrayed here in Bone Temple. Alex Garland's script is sensational. What I really appreciated, which I think was a risk, but in my opinion, really pays off, is that the infected are more in the background, and it's Spike, and it's the Jimmies, and Dr. Kelson, and Samson that we are truly examining them and that relationship, and along with the terror and what happens within this kind of world where the infected are running rampant. But what about this human element? What about humanity itself? And what's the damage that's been done in that? This is per the Seattle Times review. It says, rather than focusing on the relentless hunger of the zombies, the film instead turns its gaze to the people who have carved out a life in the hellscape of a virus-ravaged England and how they often pose a greater threat to one another. The Bone Temple, there is a deeper examination of the rage virus. I'm not going to go into details of it, but I really like that they're trying to explore more about it, and I really think it's a smart choice. There's also this theme of where the true evil has always kind of been with us humans more than those that are infected. There's just this overlapping things of where of involving isolation, a connection a connection between someone, cultism, psychosis, and what I found, I think, the most surprising, but also I think maybe the best of them all, is compassion. I don't think you don't see that really in a lot of, especially the zombie movies. It's kind of all focused on them and either escaping or surviving or becoming one of them. I think compassion plays a huge part in this one, and I think it's better for it. Ray Fiennes, listen, in Ray Fiennes we trust. He represents the absolute beauty of humanity. His friendship with Samson is so unexpected, but it's so rich in what it is trying to relay, the message it's trying to relay to us. And by using those two characters, I think I thought it was exceptional. This is the via IndieWire's 20 years later, the Bone Temple director Nia DaCosta needed to make the unsparing sequel her own way. DaCosta says the empathy that Kelson has, and that's Dr. Kelson, played by Ray Fiennes, has, and the hope that he has in humanity is why I love the movie. And I love the script and what moves me about it. It's not just like, oh, him and Samson, they're so fun. It's like he's actually doing what Samson is saying. Could you do the worst thing and still be saved? Can you still change? Can someone believe that you have the capacity to change? I think that's really beautiful. Couldn't be in more agreement with her. Chi Lewis Perry, he plays Samson. His transformation and the revealing just of a small piece of his past, I really liked. It's just enough. It doesn't go into a full, explanation of everything, and I don't think it has to. But I really like that we are uncovering these things with these characters that we first got to know in 28 years later. But we're obviously expanding on them, getting to know them, we're going beyond surface level here. I'll be honest. I mean, who knew that Big Dong zombie would become this interesting, prominent character? And I will tell you, and I don't want to start any trouble here, but there is what I can only describe as a penis competition happening here in 28 years later, the Bone Temple. I'm not sure if most people, like most adults, have to show their penis, but they do. Samson definitely has that thing swinging once again. But to my amazement, Ray Fiennes shows his dingling. And I can't really describe it. You need to see it for yourself. Spoiler alert, there's a lot of pubes. But I still think there's a lot that you can get from it. But I don't know if I addressed this in the Cinema Chronicles that I did for 28 Years Later, but clearly this is important enough to bring back up that I didn't know if Samson's penis was real. But apparently it was not real. It was fake. And the fact that I realized that, and I'm not sure if it was just within scenes or it's just the whole movie, but because of Spike, who's a minor, they couldn't do that. So they had to use fake stuff. I didn't even, that never even occurred to me. I just thought Alfie was just, the actor was in amazement with the rest of us while that thing was swinging and chopping down trees and killing people. I think his penis killed someone. I'm not sure. But our buddy Brett shared something with me, and I really liked. The source is Stepping Through Film. But apparently Perry says that he took Samson's penis home with him after filming the Bone Temple. And to my delight, Ray Fiennes' response was, I wanted that. Jack O'Connell, who, listen, he is a great actor, but you want to talk about a villain. He's just coming off of Sinners, and now here he is in the Bone Temple. He hypnotizes as being evil between Sinners and this. And as we're witnessing what that little kid at the beginning of 28 Years Later morphs into, who's known Jimmy Crystal, and the devil he follows is beyond disturbing. He and his, as he calls them, fingers, are the vicious and violent and sadistic ones here in the Bone Temple. There is a scene though where I want to go back to that kind of last scene of 20 Years Later that kind of threw me off. It makes more sense now, and some of the details of that scene, but I really like the way that this group is introduced at the beginning of Bone Temple because it really sets a tone of who they are and how they do things and who they answer to. But there is a scene where Jimmy Crystal, and it's in the trailers as well, meets Rafe Fiennes' doctor, and the conversation that they have is it adds so much to these two characters and their paths crossing at that moment. And obviously what comes after it is what a lot of people have talked about, a scene that will blow your mind. It's also really awesome. But it's that little conversation that happens before all that I just found really compelling. In the IndieWire article I had mentioned earlier, DaCosta says that this is a great moment because this conversation, the scene I'm talking about, that there's a great moment because it brings up the question, how much does Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal actually believe in what he's saying? But I think as you get further into that sequence, because then they meet, which everyone knows they're going to meet, this is when I fell in love with Jimmy Crystal, or felt like I can direct him now. I really just wanted to see, he really just wants to see his dad. He's actually an incredibly lonely character. He's a piece of shit and something's wrong with him deeply. And he's not well, but there's a part of him who's like, I actually thought you might be my dad. Not even, I thought you might be Satan, who is my father. Part of it is, I'm so lonely, and I hope that my family was here. And so performances, right? Great. Let me tell you something. There is a lot of damn good music in this. Most of it's played by Ray Fiennes' character, but there are a lot of kick-ass needle drops in this, and it's fantastic. Um, Bone Temple. I it's visceral, it's meditative, it's gruesome, and it's absolutely audacious. I think DaCosta has really raised the bar of an already quite imposing series. The Bone Temple is arguably the best one since the original. I think Danny Boyle has mentioned that Years is about the nature of family. The Bone Temple is about the nature of evil, which it absolutely is. And the third film is about the nature of redemption. I, for one, am excited to see how this redemption part plays out. Listen, best movie of 2026 so far, I say. 28 years later, The Bone Temple gets a VixFlix rating of 4 out of 5. And coming up next, Justin Long and CM Punk are getting rowdy in the streets. There's a movie called Night Patrol. Per Rotten Tomatoes, an LAPD officer must put aside his differences with the area's street gangs when he discovers a local police task force is harboring a horrific secret that endangers the residents of the housing projects he grew up in. This is directed by Ryan Prowse, who directed a movie, if you may have saw it, called Low Life. This action horror is rather clever in concept and audacious in creation. However, the end product I found pretty frustrating and incoherent. And it has the most unfortunate luck of coming out after Sinners. So Prowse and the other writers want to use the genre to sink their teeth into social issues that involve race and marginalization and white nationalism and police brutality, but they're unable to effectively draw blood on any of these critiques. I think Night Patrol is just too messy and uneven to be thrilling and thought-provoking. I think the story starts off interesting enough, and there are flashes of brilliance as we're introduced to the characters and kind of the sinister mood and atmosphere that's pretty easy to be consumed by. So once the fangs do come out, you'd think that's when maybe all the hell breaks loose between the Night Patrol, which are these officers with this secret, and the gangs who are kind of rebelling against all of the monstrosities that have been happening. And it's been, it's a feeding frenzy. And it does, yet that's also when Night Patrol becomes unhinged, but not in a good way. Injecting this voodoo / culture lore / mythology, and there's a lot of supernatural stuff that's thrown into it. It just feels like it's too much all at once. It feels as though Prowse has tonally and logistically lost his grip in what he's trying to relay to the audience, especially as we get to the end here. This is via Dread Central, reviewed by Zachary Lee. It says, there's a lack of a sense of place as characters run throughout the neighborhood, often ending up in the clutches of other villains, even if the film establishes that they were further away. Characters disappear for long stretches of time, only to reappear and then get killed off as a means of giving the film some stakes. The entire last act of the film, which is what I was referencing earlier, threatens to be entirely undone. Prowse has an eye for creating individual moments of violence to stark imagery, but it's when he tries to show larger scale skirmishes that the film feels shaky and awkward. I would say the highlights here are probably the performances. There's Jermaine Fowler, there's Justin Long, there's RJ Kyler, there's Flying Lotus, there's Nikki Michelle and CM Punk. They all came to play. They're committed and fun and funny up to a certain point, especially when talking about Fowler, Seiler, Michaud, and Long. But poor Dermot Mulroney. He essentially represents what's all wrong with this movie. He's probably embarrassed if he's even seen it. But for all of Night Patrol's intrepidness, it can never fully capitalize on its clever ideas, coming real close to wasting them completely. Night Patrol gets a VixFlix rating of 2 out of 5. And coming up next, the voice behind Garfield is stuck in a chair and his wife is dead. Next. Oh, in case you haven't heard, it's a movie called Mercy. In the near future, per Rotten Tomatoes, I should say that first. In the near future, a detective, Chris Pratt, stands on trial accused of murdering his wife. He has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to the advanced AI judge played by the wonderful Rebecca Ferguson he once championed before it determines his fate. I am in shock that I did not hate this movie because there hasn't been a single trailer I've watched and thought, oh, that's going to be a hit. I saw this as the first ever Regal Movie Monday Mystery IMAX 3D movie. Like I said, the trailers don't make it look that exciting, and I don't know about the rest of this country or this world, but I've kind of been souring on Pratt for a while. He just doesn't really move the needle for me anymore. I think if it wasn't for sort of the Marvel Jurassic Park stuff, I'm not sure if there's a lot of things that... Remember, now I haven't seen his Amazon series that he's in, so maybe that's worth a watch, but he appears to be walking that same path as Mark Wahlberg, where, they do forgettable movies while playing the same guy. However, listen, Mercy, no matter what people tell you, and this 21% Rotten Tomato score, I don't really consider it a complete disaster. It's a techno/AI thriller that operates as a screen life flick, which, for those of you that don't know, it uses forms of technology to do the storytelling. Films like Searching and Host, 2 movies that use it masterfully, present this approach. I think works for the most part as we sit with Pratt's character as he's actively investigating the death of his wife, with time obviously running out. The premise itself I find quite intriguing. I was sort of there, kind of playing right along as suspects are questioned and clues are uncovered and twists are kind of thrown at us. But listen, look, it's total nonsense, especially its third act. But to say it wasn't at least a little bit of fun, getting there would be a lie. It's the same kind of fun we used to have while watching 90s thrillers. If we can take ourselves back to that time. Director Timur Bekmambetov, I'm sure that's how you say it. He directed Wanted. He also directed the really unnecessary and awful Ben-Hur remake. But he sticks to a fast pace while Pratt plays it pretty well as a detective dealing with a failing marriage and alcoholism and trying to prove his innocence. I think for most of us, when you first saw that trailer, I think we were all probably most interested in seeing that Rebecca Ferguson was in this. And she's good. I think her and Pratt are... I don't know how much effort is put into it. I think the effort... I think there's more effort in... what Pratt did, let's just say, for Jurassic World, and what Rebecca Ferguson put in for, I'm just going to spitball and even say maybe The Greatest Showman. If that was, let's say, 80, maybe they're putting in 40. But she really feels very restrained by this movie. She's an AI judge that the audience is, I guess, supposed to root for as she kind of glitches and rebels against this program that created her to save our framed hero. I truly, it's quite miraculous that for AI to find its conscious, but I don't really think anyone is really going to buy that, especially these days. It's commentary just on the police, but especially on AI is quite mystifying, if I say so myself. But but please remember, it's all silly and ridiculous. Regarding who really murdered his wife, I'm going to say pretty close to everyone will see it coming. And as the truth unfolds, you'll be left wondering, how smart is this AI shit? Because how in the hell could it not put the pieces together? But this hungover detective could. There's a lot that does not make much sense. But mercy is a lot of things. It's forgettable. It's mindless. It's laughable. But trust me when I tell you, boring ain't one of them. So take that for what you will. Mercy's getting a VixFlix rating of 2.5 out of 5. And that is going to do it for the very first volume of this brand new year of 2026. Be sure to check out all of our work at NashvilleMovieDispatch.substack.com. Right now, I've got a lot of my best of 2025 out there, the documentaries, the performances, the directors, and Wednesday, we are wrapping it up with my best movies of 2025, so please be on the lookout for that, and we'll see you right here next month, and until then, just go see a damn movie. Oh.